moving this so y'all could see.
Oh, I'm sorry. At this time, I would like to introduce State Representative Jonathan Hill as our guest speaker this afternoon.
Thank you, Regina. Wow, this is a really big crowd. I'm not expecting there to be this many people here, but I'm glad to see that. I'm Jonathan Hill. I'm newly elected state representative for House District 8 here. And it's a real honor to be here. I'm actually a distant descendant of Mr. Martin. My parents, as some of you may know already, were Jerry and Janet Hill. My dad, Jerry Hill, is a pastor, longtime friends with Pastor Blizzard here at Oakdale. My mom was a Hudgens, and her parents were William and Nancy Hudgens. Both have passed on now, but it's on my granddaddy Hudgens side of the family that we have the Martin connection through Bertie Lee Martin. And I'll leave the rest of you who know that family tree really well to figure out the rest of it. But that makes me kin to Mr. Eddie Grant, who's over here. And also found out just the other day that it also makes me kin to Mr. Roy Kelly. So y'all don't hold that against me, please. But anyway, this has been a very eventful year for the state of South Carolina. You know, we have these flags out here, these historic flags, and these are not symbols of hate. I don't see any hatred being directed towards anyone that looks differently from us out here. This is a time of remembrance. This is a time of remembrance of many sacrifices that were made in our own families, in our own state. We're remembering a time in which there was great tragedy. There was, I would argue, unnecessary loss of life and property. And there are many lessons that we need to learn from that period in time. And if we forget that history, how are we going to learn those lessons? I appreciate Regina's sharing the passage from Joshua, because that's exactly what I was thinking about on the way up here, is when the children of Israel, when their children and grandchildren would see this pile of rocks, they would say, what do these stones mean? We're not out here with these flags, with these uniforms next to this grave as a historical curiosity or as a hobby. Nothing wrong with making that a hobby if that's your hobby. But there's a much deeper meaning here that we need to remember, and that is the value of human life. And when we don't respect the dignity and the value of human life, then it becomes devalued and it becomes lost. And people die needlessly, and we're seeing that all around us today with situations like Planned Parenthood. We're seeing situations where government officials think that they can do whatever they want because they have forgotten that they are mere mortals and that they only have authority because God created the institutions of government. So that's what we're here to remember today. We're also remembering a time when the federal government did encroach on, to a certain extent. It was a states' rights battle. Unfortunately, it's not. It was a complex issue. It's not, cut and dry in my mind. But we're seeing once again a replay of many, many instances of the federal government encroaching on the rights of the state of South Carolina and other states. And so there are many, many applications that we can make from the lessons that we learned from this time in our history. So thank you, Regina, for helping with that. This is a period in time in our state in which there's a great movement to erase and to forget this history. And, unfortunately, politics gets involved, and we had a shooting earlier this year, and it's very sad that 9 people had to lose their lives. But I also think that it's really a great testimony, both to the love of God and to the people of this state, that we didn't have rioting and looting going on here like what happened in Ferguson and in Baltimore. it's a testimony to that pastor and the way that he raised his family and the way that he taught his church congregation and the character of the people in the community of Charleston. Also saw a lot of, even though there, in spite of the political differences among our state representatives and state senators over what to do with the flag that was flying next to the Confederate memorial, there was still, when it comes to that family and seeking to comfort that family, there was a lot of unity and a coming together and a lot of love shown towards those people. I had the opportunity on 3 separate occasions to go on CNN and to defend our position on this flag. And I did that, and unfortunately, as you might expect, there were some gotcha questions and some efforts to make me look stupid as a result of that. But what I told them is exactly what I'm telling you now, and that is we need to remember the value of human life, and this period in time of our history is full of lessons on that, and so we must not forget it. Let's keep teaching our children, keep teaching our grandchildren. Let's remember this. Let's take it seriously, and hopefully God will bless our efforts, and we can be part of the solution, not part of the problem in this country. So thank you.